Hey guys, Joe here again. So I just was picking up food from Target for my wife, and surprisingly enough, it was only a handful of things. Normally it's like so much shit, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, so yeah, an advertising method. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I was just going through Facebook while I was waiting because they were taking longer than normal, and then it reminded me, which is something that we're gonna end up testing out for ourselves and for our companies as well, is direct mail. So at this point, and I probably talked about it before, but just in case you haven't seen the video or something like that, but a lot of times what works well is things that people aren't used to seeing, right? And of course, like years ago, direct mail was the #1 thing. Like it just was. And you know, we would stand at basically get the mail in, and like so much trash, right, would be just thrown out just because it was direct mail. Well, I don't know about you, but like there's so much less for a few reasons. #1 is I feel like because of the economy and whatnot, less people are advertising in general. #2, most people are online, right? Because that's like the newest and greatest way, not newest, but it's you know, it's the cost-effective wise. It's really typically it's the most cost-effective way, and that's where most people are heading to, right? Because like, and it's another reason is like it's so much easier, right? So you know, you have to set up the. I really want that location. Woo! Anyway, you know, with direct mail, like you got to get it. You know, you got to get the postcard or whatever design, then you got to typically, when you have to find someone to do it for you, if you're not going to do it yourself, then you got to find a service that's going to do the direct mail, where you got to figure it out yourself. And long story short, there's a lot of steps, right? And so the other way is like online advertising. You're on Facebook, you literally like post something and then you boost a post and like you're off and running, right? Google Ads a little bit more in depth, but it's, you know, it's easy to find someone to do it for you, right? And so because of that, less people are using direct mail. Now, one of the ways that they talk about, so the company that I would suggest using for this direct mail, I've used them once, or no, I didn't use them once. I signed up, I just haven't done anything with them yet. There's a few out there. You can use SendJim, like Send Jim, like, you know, and then the other one is Dope Marketing. And some of the methods that they talk about, and it makes perfect sense, is you can do a few ways. Basically, once you book a job, just say you're not going to be there for like, you know, 2-3 weeks or whatever, a month, whatever. What you can do is basically send out a, and this will let you like do it almost automatically, but it will let you choose like how many houses around there that you want to send it to. So if you're going to send it to 5, 10, 20, whatever it is. And then, you know, it could be neighbors right next to them, or like you're just going to blanket the whole neighborhood, like that kind of thing. But basically, you're sending out mail that says, hey, you know, just let you know, we'll be in the area. We're going to be doing, you know, such and such. And you can have like different postcards for different types of things. So if you're doing like decks and fences, or if you like whatever you do, you know, if you have multiple services, well, you would do different postcards depending on what you're doing there, right? And so basically, you know, you're giving the neighbors like a heads up ahead of time, and they're kind of like, you're not giving the address of like where you're working, right? But you are letting them know that someone in the neighborhood is going to get, you know, some kind of service done, right? And it gets them curious, right? And then basically, you know, when you show up, it's like, oh, that's who, you know, that's who's getting the work done. And it's like, oh, that's who they end up choosing to do it. And what makes it so powerful is that the closer in relationship to the potential customer, like the closer they are to that potential customer, the more likely they're going to trust whoever they used, right? So if we look at it from more of a high level, is that Google reviews, right? So you might have Google reviews, and like, because like for our fence company we had 230 compared to these other companies, you know, just say they only had 50. they're going to trust them slightly more, right? But if they were looking through the reviews and they saw someone's name that they know and then they had a good review, they're going to trust those reviews and that company so much more, right? Same thing for word of mouth. It's like, hey, you're asking like on your Facebook group, right? Or Facebook page, like, hey, do you know of any, XYZ companies, right? And people are going to recommend people. Well, if it's just some random person that, you're friends with, that you don't even know how you became friends with, you're going to kind of trust them, right? It's better than nothing. But then if you had like an actual friend, you're going to trust them slightly more. If it's like your best friend, you're going to trust them even more. If it's your parents, if it's kids, stuff like that. Again, closer in relationship to that individual, the more likely, the more gravity that review or that recommendation means. So again, going back to these postcards, if they're looking for a fence company or a deck company or whatever it happens to be, because that neighbor is so close to them, right? Maybe not personally, but locally, they are so much closer that they basically are going to trust you more than like Google reviews at that point. Why? Because they're so close, right? Just think about it, especially high-end areas, right? Because if you have these homes that are worth, close to $1 million or $1 million plus, right? Those people, a lot of times, they're not buying based on price. They're buying based on service. They're buying based on the highest likelihood of them getting what they paid for, right? Because a lot of times, like, if you got $1 million plus home, chances are, unless they're a drug dealer or they're some friggin' like 21-year-old YouTuber, they're a professional, right? They're busy at work. They might be at a higher level than your typical people that are only making $50,000 and $100,000 a year, right? They might be some kind of an executive, right? And because of that, their time is much more important to them than the average person, right? And, at the end of the day, they, like, if they want their kitchen remodeled or they want a fence or whatever, they just want to call someone. And then they want to be able to just get what they want, right? So this would be especially helpful in these higher end areas, right? Because, again, if these executives, because they're like similar points in life, right, in a professional level and all that kind of stuff, because they trusted you, that those neighbors are like 10 times more likely, I don't have the actual number, but 10 times more likely to trust you, right? Or at least give you a call. So this is something that could be really really beneficial. Now, if you're doing something that is like outdoors that people can see, examples could be Christmas lighting, maybe you do stucco, I don't know, whatever. Even like pools and shit, because like people are nosy, and if they're looking over the neighbor's over the fence to see what happened, basically they can see it, right? But this could be very beneficial because, like, hey, we're about to be doing, such and such project, be on the lookout, right? And then they're seeing it. They're seeing your trucks. They're seeing the driving past. They're seeing the workers that don't, that have their shirt on, that look professional, that kind of thing. And then it's just more building a relationship without even talking to these people, which is what, that was the main goal for me, of how do we build relationships without talking to these people, right? Or how do we build relationships instead of like a one-to-one thing? How do we do this on a larger scale, right? I do YouTube videos. That's why I do email marketing, stuff like that, because I'm trying to build relationships as quickly as possible with as many people as possible. And obviously the goal is to have people buy from me in some sort of way, right? But it's also like, I know at the end of the day, the more value I give out in the world, the more that I'm going to receive back. It's just what's going to happen, right? So anyway, going back to it, like you could set up, you know, before the work's done, you could set out a thing like, hey, be on the lookout, blah, blah, blah. And then after the work's done, like, hey, check out what we've done. Like we just, for this neighbor, we did such and such and such. Again, this would work well if it's going to be more on the exterior of the house, right? And then they can drive past and be like, hey, who is that? Because people are nosy, right? Especially like, they just are, right? So if you're saying that kind of stuff and they're like, hey, I'm going to check it out. I wonder who got done what, blah, blah, blah. And that's what you can do. So anyway, and again, you can automate a lot of this stuff. A lot of these programs will connect in with your CRM. So you could set up automations. Job Nimbus is a really good one for this. But you can set stuff up where like when a job is booked, then you could have this automatically done for you. So there might be a little bit of stuff that you have to set up on the front end, but after that it's automated, right? You don't have to do anything, because a lot of times what we end up doing is like when it comes to advertising, the marketing and stuff like that, we only do it or actively do it when we need the work, right? And that's like kind of like the worst time to do it, right? You should always be spending money and doing effort to you know, for the advertising and things of that nature, because you need to do it before you need it done, right? Because it's not like, not that it won't happen, but like you don't want to, it's not like you're gonna put out an ad and book a job like in the next 5 minutes, right? It's kind of like it might take a few days. Well, if you need to like work tomorrow, well, you should have been advertising like 3 months before that, right? Building a relationship. That where it comes in helpful with the Facebook videos and everything else. So anyway, it's definitely something to try out. It's not expensive whatsoever. Maybe do like spend $50 a house, $20 a house. I don't know the exact cost, like that's something we'll be looking into. But if you put that money out, you know, yeah, if you do 100 jobs and you put $50 a house, you know, then at that point you're going to spend $5,000. But like, what's $5,000 if you have 100 jobs, right? And then it just keeps on building and building and building. So I hope these types of videos are helpful. I know like not a ton of people watch them, but that's okay. But it's also because like I don't mess around with the thumbnails. I don't do a lot of things I need to do. It's more or less I do this kind of stuff for you know, the people on my email list and stuff like that. So I hope you guys have an awesome day. This is probably the last video for the day. So talk to you soon.